What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button because that's the most important thing you can do for me on this channel. What it does, that helps make sure that those who are subscribed to the channel will indeed get the notifications, and it also helps to push this video through the YouTube algorithm as well. Secondly, if you're new to the channel, or maybe you've been ghost watching this channel for quite some time now, please do me a favor and yourself a favor by hitting the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. And lastly, please make sure you share this video out on your social media platforms to your family and friends to inform them on this news and information. And yes, that does help to give me a slight boost in the YouTube algorithm as well. And with the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news because today we are headed back to New Venezuela, formerly known as New York City, because we have yet another shooting that occurred at a migrant shelter, this time at the Randall's Island migrant shelter. Now, this is a shelter that I've been covering for, over a year now. For those of you who don't know, Randall's Island, that migrant shelter is the most dangerous shelter in New York City. The nickname for Randall's Island migrant shelter is the death shelter. That is not something that I came up with here. That is what the people that actually reside there, that's what they call it. The illegal immigrants in the Randall's Island migrant shelter refer to that shelter as the death shelter because there are so many situations like this of shootings, stabbings, brawls that occur in that particular shelter. Now, this is also coming off of the shooting that just occurred last week at the Brooklyn migrant shelter, which led to 1 dead and 2 injured. And police sources did state that that was a retaliation shooting, right? Because currently there's a turf war that has broken out in New York, per police sources via the New York Post. A migrant gang turf war has broken out between a splinter group from Tren de Aragua and the main group of Tren de Aragua. These are both Venezuelan gangs, right? That group has splintered off. Tren de Aragua, the main group, the main migrant gang, they have splintered off into 2 groups, and now those 2 groups are warring with each other in Brooklyn, unfortunately. But now let's get up to date with what's happening now at the Randall's Island shelter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this post here. I will make sure to leave this link, the link to this article, in the description box below. The article is titled, 3 people shot, 1 fatally after overnight gunfire near Randall's Island Migrant Center. Let's get into it, everybody. A Venezuelan migrant was shot dead and 2 others wounded in a drive-by shooting near Randall's Island shelter early Monday morning. Apparent payback for an earlier robbery, sources said. The victims were boozing it up, celebrating the re-election of controversial Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro around 3:30 a.m. when the shots rang out, law enforcement sources said. Now, I have that part highlighted in blue for this. So the victims were boozing it up, celebrating the re-election of controversial Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro around 3:30 a.m. Here's my question, and then we're going to move on. Why are you here in the States celebrating the victory of a president who was reelected that apparently you wanted him to be reelected? Are you following what I'm saying? Let me ask that question again. If you're truly asylum seeking because it's so bad in your country and it's so corrupt over there, why in the world would you even be celebrating the re-election of the sitting president, which is apparently supposed to be the reason for why your country is in disarray, to which you have been seeking now asylum here in the US? That doesn't make logical sense. Something here isn't really adding up, but I'll leave it there. I just wanted to bring that question and attention to that because the logic just isn't lining up. You're here asylum seeking, right? Because it's so bad in Venezuela, because the government is so corrupt. But you're here at a migrant shelter in New York City in the United States celebrating the re-election of an apparent corrupt president, which is the reason why you're here in the first place. I'll leave it alone. Let's just move on. The logic isn't really there for me, but hey, it is what it is, right? One of the victims, a 44-year-old woman, was killed after being hit in the face, and back by the gunman, police said. The others, a 32-year-old man shot in the throat and a 31-year-old woman hit in the back. She was probably trying to run. That's unfortunate. Were taken to Harlem Hospital and were listed in stable condition, police said. The article continues to read, no arrests had been made early Monday. The NYPD reportedly is looking for at least two suspects, one of whom is believed to have fled on a moped with New Mexico license plates, ABC7 reported. The moped, that's the signature of the Venezuelan migrants that participate in criminal activity. Whenever you see these guys on a moped, and I hate to put, I don't want to say just because you're an illegal immigrant on a moped that you're automatically a criminal, even though technically speaking you are, because you're an illegal immigrant. But I think you all know what I mean. But that's a signature, right? The moped is a signature for those that participate in violent crime like this. This is something that has become very apparent and notorious in New York City now. Many of you all are aware of the moped snatch and grabs that occur, where you have these illegal immigrant criminals that will be riding on a moped. And as they're riding on a moped, they'll see an innocent woman with her purse around her shoulder, and they'll zoom past extremely fast and grab the purse while on the moped, or grab the cell phone from the woman while on the moped. They almost exclusively target women. I don't think I've seen any of these snatch and grab jobs or even heard of these snatch and grab job happening to a man. They make it a point to really exclusively target women, which is very unfortunate as well. But I mean, once again, it is what it is at this point. New York City has just turned into New Venezuela. It just is what it is. Sources told the Post that the shooting stemmed from an earlier robbery, but details of the incident remain unclear. The migrant tent shelter at the Manhattan site has been the subject of controversy in the past, including outbursts of violence. Last month, a brawl broke out between feuding migrant groups at the site, leading to several arrests. And I actually covered that last month. The migrant groups were Latino migrants, right, versus African migrants, or I should say Latino illegal immigrants versus African illegal immigrants. That was a brawl that broke out, a racial brawl that broke out at the shelter last month. Fortunately, no one lost their life, but arrests were made. And obviously, because it's New York City, nobody was deported. Nobody was deported. Everybody was released to appear in court, which I'm sure they'll be skipping out on that, right? In April, 5 men were charged with assault for their part in a rowdy fight that left one asylum seeker suffering a stab wound and 4 intervening security guards injured. In January, a migrant housed at the facility was stabbed to death in a dispute over a woman. When simping goes wrong, leading to 3 arrests, police said. So as you can see here, once again, the Randall's Island Migrant Shelter, it's not nicknamed the death shelter for no reason. The most incidents of violence, death, killings, everything of that nature, they happen the most over there at the Randall's Island Shelter. There's been debate over whether or not they should shut it down. But the thing is that if you shut it down, well, then now all these guys are just free to roam through, the New York City streets, so you got to pick your poison. Do you want them to be just concentrated at Randall's Island, or do you want to get rid of the shelter altogether? And now they're just, roaming the streets of New York City. And once again, those are really their only 2 options, because the third option and the most obvious option is mass deportation in New York City. But we all know that's not going to happen over there. We all know that's not going to happen. So they have to deal with this foolishness as it continues to present itself. And with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for today's news. So please make sure you hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video out on your social media platforms. And also, don't forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. And also, don't forget to follow me on Rumble at TD Media Group as well. Both the Telegram link and the Rumble link are pinned in the description box below. Thank you all for your time, and until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.